The new school year is right around the corner. And a lot of you are asking
you don't
if
miss college?
No, not really, not so much. A lot of you are asking if the new Asus Eee PC is powerful enough to be a serious alternative to traditional laptops, like this email from Marcus. Marcus wrote, I see the Asus 900 series is out for sale now, and there are pictures of the 1000 series on the Asus website. I'm excited to read about a larger screen and other improvements over the original. Have you had a chance to feel out the newer models to see if this is the ultra mobile PC that we've been waiting for? Marcus. And while we're at it, Dimar is wondering what this whole netbook phenomena is all about. JD wants to know if the Eee PC would be good for taking notes in class and doing word processing. And quite a few other folks are curious about the Eee PC and other ultra portables.
Okay, essentially Asus, Acer, MSI, and quite a few other manufacturers are producing ultra-portable notebooks like this one. Apple's $1,800 MacBook Air with its 13-inch screen would be kind of the high end. Asus's first generation, 2G, 4G running Linux, 512 megabytes of RAM and a 7-inch screen. You can buy one now. The 2G you can buy now for like $300.
Ooh, not bad.
Not
a lot of
bad.
People love them too.
Yeah, the first generation ones were pretty difficult to use. The processor was tiny, there was no memory, it was slow and miserable. So if you got my review of the first generation Asus Eee PCs, well, and they're pretty much the high profile in this whole netbook. These super ultra portable, don't have an optical drive devices. And they're popping up all over the place. Knows that I was less than thrilled with the processor and the battery life. The new Eee PC 900, which Veronica is gently fondling to my left, is a huge improvement in usability.
It's like a Fisher-Price laptop.
You like that, huh?
It's like I want to cuddle with it because it's so tiny and warm.
It's
like
got
a little,
certain
like
my first laptop feel to it. It's a huge improvement over the original models in usability because it has a big step up on the processor, and the battery life is doing pretty good. I actually got close to 2 hours of battery life out of it with the Wi-Fi on. This is not one of the new Atom-powered machines. Those would be the 901 or the 1000. Now the 900 right here, 1.8 pounds, an 8.9-inch screen, a 1024 by 600 resolution, what they call a 0.83 keyboard. It's going to take time to get your fingers trained to this, and frankly, if you're a touch typist, carrying a full-size keyboard around, especially if you type fast to take notes, might be a very good idea.
It's not that bad.
Type something fast, like open up WordPad or something.
Oh, I got it right on the first try that time. Yeah, the one thing I don't really like, oh, actually, I did not get it right. Never mind. That was a lie. The clickies here,
yeah, the
mouse buttons are not great. They're a little hard to push.
Cool because usually like two-finger gestured for scrolling.
And you can
stuff.
tap for clicking also on the touchpad.
Buttons. Go ahead, yeah, click one up by your mic so people can hear that.
That's a technical term, by the way, clicky things.
Clicky things.
That's I learned that at CNET, actually.
They feel like they take like 10 pounds of pressure.
It's really hard to push them down.
Like,
that's kind of, yeah, I would go with using the tapping on the touchpad instead of using the buttons, personally.
Yeah.
Unless you have to right-click.
It's definitely a little aggressive for those. Gigabyte of RAM on board, which is a huge improvement over the 512 in the last, or 526, whatever it was in the last model we tested. Our version had a 12 gigabyte solid-state drive for storage, so no hard drive to break, which is good. And there's an SD card slot if you want more storage. It's all powered by an Intel Celeron M processor running at 900 megahertz. Sells for $549 online. Unless you get the Linux version, the free operating system takes $150 off the price, and you can pick it up for $400. The new Atom-powered models are the 901, $600, essentially the same as the 900, only with the Atom processor, 20 gigabytes of storage. It's a little heavier, but they're claiming like 7.5 hours of battery life because the architecture is more efficient on the processor. I want to get my paws on one to see it. The 1000, $670. It's got a big old whopping 10-inch screen, 40 gigabytes of storage, 1 gigabyte of RAM, has wireless Wi-Fi N, and it's of course bigger, like 10.5 by 7.5 by 1.5, and weighs a hefty 3 pounds. And again, Asus claims about 7.5 hours of battery life. Battery life is somewhere the specs and the real world expectations can clash. On the first generation Eee PCs, Asus gave battery life estimates with Wi-Fi off or a blend of Wi-Fi on and off during use, which seems weird to me because the whole idea of a netbook is that you're connected to the internets all the time. Do you ever run with your Wi-Fi turned off when there's Wi-Fi? Exactly.
Not so much, unless I'm actually plugged in.
Yeah, I mean, in this version of it, they're much more, in the first generation, they're like 4 hours of battery life if your Wi-Fi's off. And I got like an hour and a half. This time I was getting close to 2 hours with the Wi-Fi on all the time. I did have a couple of issues with this EPC. The screen, not very bright, so if you're trying to use it outdoors, it can be frustrating. Standby mode chewed through a lot of battery life. Think 50% overnight from a full charge. As in, I took it off the charger, I put it in my backpack, and the next morning it was down to 50%. Running in standby mode. That's a little frustrating, especially since we couldn't hibernate to save more battery life because there was no space on the hard drive. The drive in our test unit, now you're going to laugh. The way it's built, they have a 4 GB SSD, basically like 2 chunks of SSD memory, or basically 2 chunks of flash memory used for storage. A 4 GB version, or a 4 GB chunk, and an 8 GB chunk on our device. Windows was installed on the 4 GB partition, which was like 3.75 gigabytes after it was formatted. That's fine for the basic XP install, but created lots of problems when we started running Windows updates. Like there wasn't enough room to install Service Pack 3. We had to download SP3 manually, put it on the other drive, install it back on the first drive, do the hokey pokey. And additional, basically like between the SP3, Service Pack 3, and a graphics drive update, we had a whopping 90 megabytes of drive space left, which Windows does not like so much because the scratch partition keeps bumping into things. And
I'm laughing because I just got that warning as I was trying to watch Tekzilla Daily.
Windows is running out of space. Everything's going to stop. Now, so we flipped the install to put the operating system on the larger, the 8 GB chunk of drive. All the apps on this machine are already there. Works. It's got a nice open source suite. We're installed in that. Will it work as a note-taking machine, a basic portable remote control for your home theater PC, something you can give the kids to bang around with? Absolutely. And you know what? It is so much more usable than the first generation. And I got to say, I like the Windows XP a lot better than I like Linux running on this.
Really?
Yes, actually. There's nothing wrong with the Linux version, but I think Windows does a little bit better job with battery life management. Send the hate mail to patrick@version3.com if you disagree.
Well, that takes away so much of the fun nerdiness of it.
It's still pretty nerdy.
It's still kind of nerdy.
It's still pretty nerdy. 3 USB ports, a VGA output, the SD card slot for additional memory. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention the little built-in web camera.
1.3 megapixel built-in camera.
Just the thing for those Skype calls.
Keeps the weight down, when the megapixels are lower. Those megapixels, they pack a pound, let me tell you.
It actually has almost as much computing power as your iPhone. Actually, it's got more computing power than your iPhone.
It took me a minute too. I was trying to figure out if you were making fun of me or not, so I had to think about it for like a second, and then I realized you weren't.
What we do really want is more battery life. We'll check out some more other, some additional models as they become available for testing for some other manufacturers too. I do want to see those Atom processors. I really want to see, because if those are taking it from like 2.5 hours to 7 hours, that would be huge, and make it, because right now if you have 2 classes back to back, you're going to be running around with your power supply looking for a place to plug in.
I'm going to take this one with me now, so.
Just, okay, just.
No, it's cool.
Goes back to Asus when you're done.
No, no.
No? I'll send the Asus people after you. I think it's time we took a look at another video email while someone tracks down Veronica. Take it away, Z-Man. Veronica? Veronica? Veronica.
So we're here at RodCon with Vivian, who's the director of marketing for ASUS, which I've just been now told how to correctly pronounce.
I've been using ASUS products my entire life, and I realized I've been mispronouncing it this whole time.
I've been calling them ASUS of yourself. Asus, I think, is what I usually call it. But ASUS, that's good. But ASUS, that's good.